Welcome to the FaceTime with God podcast. I'm your host, Farrar, and yes, you have tuned in to the right place because we're bringing Christ to the culture and the culture to Christ because the gospel's not for old times, it's for all times. So we've got relevant topics, real people, and we're starting right now. So welcome to another edition of FaceTime with God, and we are just on a roll, and you are in for another treat. So we have Kebrah Jefferson. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Awesome. Now earlier you said, well, they made it up, so it's hard.
Yes,
so if they made it up, we can remake it if we want to, but we always want to make sure we get that right. And we're going to delve into foster care tonight, which is a big topic. It's an important topic in our community. It's something we need to learn more about. I certainly want to learn more about it. So I'm so excited you are here. And but we're going to start with some fun stuff first. All right.
Excited to be here.
Some fun stuff. So just kind of like a rapid response. One answer, whatever comes to mind. And with your background, she's like, okay, this is a psychological test.
Yeah. Right.
But no, this is just a fun question. So first one is, if you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, back when they were alive, I assume that's what they're saying, but if you could have dinner with anyone, who would it be?
That's a hard one. Okay, dead or alive?
Let's say you were hungry when you left here. And you didn't like our treats. You were nice to us, but you're like, I need some food. Who would you call?
Who would I call to go grab something to eat with? My friend Aaron. We're all about some Mexican food.
Okay. All right. So when you go do Mexican, what's your favorite?
Well, we have to start with chips and queso.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna test you here.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to food, you could probably see that I enjoy food. So I'm going to test you here. Do you do queso? Do you do white queso? Have you done that?
So queso with chorizo.
Okay.
The only way to go.
Oh, we got a battle. We got a little battle going on. So since you're nearby, that means you and I might have to go get some queso.
Yes.
With chorizo.
Yes, absolutely.
So, all right, cool. Is there a skill that you would say that you wish you had? I know you got a lot, but if there was one that you don't have and you wish you did, what would it be?
Coding.
Coding?
Just really being tech savvy. I get by.
Okay. Now, if you could code, what would you do?
Oh, man. I would improve my software program that I'm working with right now.
So at work. So really you're thinking about fixing some things for yourself at work. I got
absolutely.
You. I got you. Okay. Well, hey, never too late to learn how to be a sister that codes. So that is all good. All right. If you were ending your day at work and you're ready to relax, but you want to hear a hype song, what's your favorite go-to hype song?
Ooh, a hype song? Jill Scott, Hate on Me.
Okay, all right. Jill Scott, Hate on Me. I'm gonna have to pull it up. The only one I know is living my life like it's golden.
That one works
bad.
too. That's a good one too.
Yeah, I remember she came here a few years ago. I'm sure she's been here a few times, but I know she was here a few years ago. It was an outdoor deal.
The jazz festival.
I think it was.
I definitely saw. I paid my little money and was up.
Yeah, I went through there. So, tell us one thing that one good thing, one interesting thing that most people don't know about you. What would that be?
I play the guitar. I did when I was younger. Yeah.
Acoustic, electric, bass? Acoustic.
Yeah.
Have you ever written any songs?
I did in my teenage years.
Oh, wow. What were your songs mostly about?
Child. All kinds of things.
Boy at school.
Some were about the Lord.
Good. That's what I'm talking about. Praise Him.
My sisters and I, we wrote a song for my mom one time for Mother's Day.
Now that is very sweet.
Did
she cry?
Yes. It takes a lot for my mom to cry. She a G.
Yeah. Look, it was nowhere in the world you couldn't cry. Your kids wrote you a song.
Mm-hmm.
So that is so sweet. So sweet. So you mentioned something about the Lord. Tell us a little bit about your testimony.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in church. My father was a pastor.
Okay.
And in 95, my parents became missionaries, and we went to live in Brazil. I was 11 years old when that happened.
Okay.
You hear so much about the Lord growing up in a Christian home, but it definitely came real for myself in my teenage years. Learning that I do need the Lord. I do need help. I can't do these things on my own. We homeschooled in Brazil, and so that could be challenging in its own ways. And I remember taking Algebra 2, and my mom was not good at algebra, so she said she was going to give me a tutor. I was like, okay, great. Well, it was a Brazilian lady, so I had to learn Algebra 2 and Portuguese. So while she helped me learn, so that was interesting.
Yeah. So. Did you like it though, learning the language at that time, or you look back and you're like, wow, I wish I had learned more? I mean,
no, absolutely. My sister and I became fluent. We definitely took to the language a lot faster than my parents. It was a little bit more challenging for them, but. Brazil is a beautiful country, beautiful beaches, beautiful people. They're like very laid back, and I just enjoyed growing up there.
Wow. What was there like a favorite food that you tried over there that you wish you could have?
We would eat beans and rice, and then my mom would switch it up and we eat rice and beans.
Just flip it over. For tonight.
That was.
We put the beans down first, put the rice on top.
No, if they wanted to be fancy, then they would make what's called feijoada, and so they would add like different types of meat to the beans. So that was really taking the beans to another.
Yeah, I got look.
But it was
beans
still beans.
Listen, don't get me started because I will crack open a can of beans and make my own refried beans.
Hey, there you go.
They've been coming out pretty good lately. My black refried beans, but yeah, so Brazil, and I'm just looking at your resume. So for our audience, Kebrah is the co-founder and executive director of Restore TFC. Correct. Tell us about that.
Restore TFC is for therapeutic foster care.
Okay.
So we are a foster care agency, and what we do is we license families to become certified foster parents, and then we place children in their homes.
Okay.
And while the children are in their homes, we provide case management.
Okay. Awesome. And you said co-founder. Was this you and your sister, or
my husband and I?
Your husband.
We opened in 2022.
Okay.
So I first got into this field in 2009, and then working with at-risk youth. I work in mental health with adults. I got into foster care in 2014. Loved it.
Wow.
And I was working with my kids on my caseload and my foster families. And I went home. I told my husband, I was like, we can do this too.
Okay. Awesome.
So we started fostering, and just noticed that there were some gaps.
Okay.
And
what were some of the gaps?
I would say one thing I noticed is that foster parents tend to have sometimes the smallest voice in the room. When we have these meetings in discussion about what their best interest is, what would be their goals, what is in how things should unfold for them.
Okay.
And I think it's important that we validate the parents, the foster parents that are in the room as well, because they can tell us, they're providing direct care to these children, so they can tell us, how these children are progressing, where there is some regression. And so it's very important to give them space at the table.
Wow. So So your program, is it a part of like the state Department of Social Services or county? They send referrals to you?
Correct.
Or is it mixed with that and private referrals, or how does it work?
Yes, we are a private agency, and how it works is we have contracts with social service departments. So, for example, we have contract with Richmond City, Henrico County, Hanover County, Petersburg.
Wow.
And because we are a therapeutic foster care agency, they reach out to us when they have children with somewhat higher needs than what they would place in a traditional foster care home. And we try to place, as many kids as best as possible.
Gotcha. So is it when you say, higher need, is it physical? Is it mental? Is it developmental, or all mix?
Yeah, it's a mixture. Several of my kids, many children that have experienced trauma have developmental needs, mental health needs. Some have medical needs.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
And what would you say the percentage of your cases end up in adoption, or is it very, very few?
So 50% of foster care kids return home. So the goal is always reunification, return home to mom and dad. But it doesn't always work out like that. So the other 50% falls between relative placement and adoption.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And are there like support services that you all provide for the families that have these higher need kids, or do they get that from the state or the school system, or how does it? Because I would imagine the needs vary, and there are many, multifaceted. So how does a family handle all
Absolutely.
of that?
Right. And that's where we come in, because it can be a lot. We connect our families with different services. So for I have infants and toddlers that come into care. So we have them assessed by early intervention. And early intervention will deem if this child needs speech therapy or occupational therapy, physical therapy. From our older kiddos, if they have any medical needs, we make sure that they get connected to those specialists. All of our children that are of age to have therapy, we make sure we connect them with therapy services as well.
And so so in other words, like, if I had a child, and I'm like, wow, I think this child needs speech therapy, I would call you, and then you would give us referrals, or how
Absolutely. So if a child is placed in your home, that child will be assigned one of my caseworkers. And that caseworker will be in contact with you on a weekly basis, just doing check-ins to make sure you have everything that you need, and the child as well. Because what we found is, when the parents are supported, then that prevents placement disruption. So if you call the caseworker and say, hey, I think Jimmy needs speech therapy, then all children that are in foster care are given Medicaid insurance. So we would
that's
find
helpful.
a speech therapist that accepts Medicaid insurance. And schedule an assessment.
Gotcha. I was looking at that is so important to get that kind of that wraparound service.
Absolutely.
And I think it's good for people to hear that that's available, because some people may want, to say, hey, look, I got 2 extra bedrooms, and, my kids are away at college or whatever. Right. And I see these kids in the community, but goodness, I don't know if I could take it. But what you're saying is that, yes, when you take that child, we got your back.
Exactly.
It's like, what is that commercial with the credit union? We got you.
Right.
So that's what you're saying. We got you.
Yeah, you can do it. We can help.
I got you. Yeah, that is awesome. That is so awesome. Now, I was pulling some numbers, and it was just saying that Virginia's foster care system, the numbers have gone up and down, but the last numbers that this particular stat referred to was in 2023. A couple years back, but they were saying that there were 5,000, over 5,000 children in foster care. Is that still about right?
That's about right. Roughly 1,500, 1,600 that are up for adoption. And so it is definitely a need. 50% of foster parents quit in the first year.
Wow.
And it's not because these are bad kids. A lot of times it's just because the foster care system is a tough place. You know, there can be a lot of different people at the table that have different ideas of what the best interest of the child is. And so not always seeing eye to eye with social services versus the foster
because
family.
They have a lot of rules, right? So social services.
There's policies, procedures as to, you know, how the children are cared for and all those things.
Yeah, it's so funny because when I was sharing that, you know, speaking of having 2 extra bedrooms, right? Like I got 3 extra bedrooms. And back a few years ago, I was like, well, you know, I want to adopt or I want to do foster care. I really wanted to adopt. And I had made a plan. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to send this child to private school and they're going to dance, basketball, football, cheer, whatever they want. In other words, I'm going to make sure this child is going to succeed, you know, and they're going to be brought up in a Christian home and all of these good things. And I went through 3 different kind of intake explorations and I wasn't feeling any of them. Like, seriously.
That's unfortunate.
Yes.
I've heard that
and
before,
I was so eager. Like, I was so eager. Like, I had already started buying this stuff to child-proof my house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I looked at that balcony. I was like, never mind. Because how you going to child-proof a balcony?
Yeah.
And I was like, no. I can't, you know, because I used to always get nervous when up in age, my dad went up there. And I was like, come on back down.
Okay.
But just some of the things that, for example, parenting, one of the things, the perception that I got in my checking out different programs, and maybe it was I wasn't talking to the right person. Maybe I should talk to you. But was that the system, maybe not intentionally, but the outcomes that I saw of the guidelines that I became aware of was not to make the child better.
Yeah.
It was to place the child and put a roof over their head and keep them safe.
Yeah.
But not to change any risky behaviors, not to, you know, put them on a pathway to a much better life. It was just to preserve their life.
Right.
That's the feeling that
almost
I got.
like a landlord type feel.
Exactly. Like you come in and out,
like
you check in,
room.
and we renting out a room, not to be a parent. And I'm like, I don't think I can do that.
Colossians 3:23 and 24. And whatever you do, do it with all your heart as unto the Lord and not unto men, knowing that it's of the Lord that you shall receive the reward of the inheritance, because you serve the Lord Christ.